Today, we're going to be talking about startups. More specifically, I want to talk about the mistakes that I made being a student founder. I recently graduated from the University of Waterloo, and during that time, I started 2 companies. The first one was in 2018. I actually had no clue that entrepreneurship was a thing that I could pursue. That company was essentially one where I ran workshops and programs with 15 other organizations to run mentorship programs for young women interested in STEM fields.
Women represent only 22% of the STEM workforce. This is where FemInSTEM comes in.
Ran that for about 2 years as a solo founder, impacted around 400 girls, and then pivoted into the edtech space. So I essentially wanted to sell this software tool that would allow companies to more effectively onboard their remote interns. This was in 2020, and I ran it for about 2 years again, and then my co-founder and I decided to finally shut things down. So with Lumaki Labs, I ran more of the business, product, and design side of things. My co-founder did more of the technical work, and through our time, we had shipped an MVP, not really an MVP, but we'll get to that later, and got around 200 or so students onboarded through our platform. So without further ado, let's move into the mistakes that I made. The first big mistake was not shipping fast enough. I think that if I were to go back in time, before even touching any software, I would just do the process manually. So figure out a way to onboard interns just through something manual. Maybe that's a Google Doc, maybe that's a spreadsheet, just offering to automate that process, aka manually do it myself, for companies. I think by doing the process manually first, you can then figure out how to productize after, instead of trying to shoot in the dark, spend a lot of time developing stuff, realizing only after that it's not what people actually need. I think one of the biggest mistakes that we made was building a very, very bloated MVP. I think what we thought was MVP really wasn't, because there was more than one feature. There was like probably 5 that we thought were core, when in reality an MVP should be as simple as possible. For us, we again spent 4 months or so building out our MVP. By the time we had the product ready, a lot of people had already figured out existing solutions to onboard remote interns. One of the reasons why our MVP took so long to ship is because I prioritized custom design work other than just using what was already out there.
Rookie mistake.
To speed up the process, you should just use existing design libraries to build your product. If we use Chakra UI or just something else like that, it would have been way faster to bring it to market. But yeah, don't be like us and spend way too much time on custom designs or just shipping out your first MVP. Just get something out there, get feedback, and keep moving forward. The next thing is a little bit more of a personal one for me, but I think that I spent a little bit too much time networking, and sometimes that got me distracted. Accelerator programs and going to events and conferences is really, really great, especially when you're first getting started, but I think that sometimes it can serve as a distraction. Find a balance there of going to these events, getting good at pitching yourself and networking, but also sitting down and doing the work. Team building is extremely hard, especially for young people who may have never managed anyone in their life. When it comes to co-founders or early team members, you really have to set a culture of open feedback early on. For me, my type of personality is sometimes avoidant, and it's hard for me to give honest feedback sometimes. I like to praise people for their work. I don't really like telling people when I think that something could have been improved. Get good at giving feedback early and often, because if you wait for it to pile up, it just leads to more friction. We incorporated and registered for a tax number way too early. I think that you shouldn't think about that until you actually get a few dollars. For us, that just took a lot more time out of validating the actual idea, just trying to get set up with the typical legal structure. And I think we could have saved hundreds or even thousands of dollars not doing that so early, and only worrying about that after, when we knew that there was actually people who wanted to start buying our products. So yeah, don't register for your tax numbers when you don't even have money yet. It just doesn't make sense. Another mistake that is pretty common is building too much for your early users. I think for us, we had initial interest from, again, institutions, schools, and that was only one very, very specific type of user, and it kind of missed the mark of the rest of the target users that we were actually going after. So we over-engineered or overbuilt a lot of custom features for this one person or this one group that was interested in our product to begin with, we realized that we were just overlooking the rest of the potential market. So don't over-engineer or overbuild too custom stuff unless you know for sure that it's going to be beneficial for other future customers as well. On that note, I think that one of the biggest things that I took away was that customer discovery needs to happen all the time, especially in an early stage startup. It needs to happen all the time and with everybody on the team. So at first it was just me doing customer interviews, but I think that every single co-founder or even every single early team member should be doing customer discovery work, whether that's hopping on user interviews and stuff like that. It just leads to better team alignment and everyone can be on the same page and get better intuition as to what direction the product should take. And you can tackle a lot more interviews that way. I hope that was helpful. I hope you pulled some insights. I know a lot of this was very specific to me and the company that I was running, but I think that these are learnings that are applicable to a lot of different product ideas out there. So hopefully you found this useful. I'm hoping to make a part 2 that covers a little bit more actionable advice, as well as why I think that you should start a company while you're in school. But yeah, let me know in the comments if there's anything else you want me to cover, and thanks so much for watching.
Oh boy.